Friday, best real estate agents. It is I, Kay Thompson, a principal broker here at Best, and this is today's episode of the Best Real Estate Companies Friday Focus. I wanted to let you guys know up front that I wasn't actually going to do a podcast today because we were going to meet have an office meeting. However, we had some unexpected challenges this morning, and we've had to push the office meeting back to next Friday, March 22nd. We're still going to be meeting with DR Horton. They are still going to provide lunch for us, and we are going to be at a different address, 8523 Pleasant Hill Road, which is a new subdivision. It's an address in a new subdivision that DR Horton is building in Olive Branch. They're having some bigger homes down there in that particular subdivision, so they're welcoming us as one of the first to come in and check out the new floor plans. They also have some great agent incentives that they want to tell us about, and I have a few things that I wanted to talk about too in terms of local and national market trends, and just giving some information about how we can help boost our business for these upcoming spring and summer months. So I hope to see as many of you there as possible. We do have certain people that RSVP'd, and I'm thankful for the RSVPs because that helps me to gauge how many people we need to have lunch for. We don't want to waste resources buying a bunch of food for people who aren't going to show up. We want to make sure that we treat the people who do show up very well. So because we have had to push the event back, that gives you guys a few extra days to get your RSVPs in if you weren't able to do it. I would like to have everyone who hasn't up until this point to RSVP by Wednesday. That would be Wednesday, March the 20th at 5 p.m. so that we can make sure that we have enough food available for everyone who is willing and aiming to participate. And I really was hoping on this episode that we could get past talking about the lawsuits and everything that's going on with our National Association of Realtors. And I do have an update today that I think is very important that I need for everyone to know about. So because this is the first time that something that they've done in terms of these lawsuits is going to affect us directly. And so I thought I would share a little bit of information with you about it. And to find all the information, let me start by saying this too. In order to find all of the information regarding the updates and litigation with NAR in terms of the commissions, you guys can go to competition.nar, and you will be taken to a landing page that has all of this. I'm sorry, it's not competition.nar, it's competition.realtor. If you go to competition.realtor, no .com, no www, just type in competition.realtor in your search engine or in your navigation bar, your address bar. And all of this information about the lawsuits and everything is going to come up. I strongly urge people, though, to regularly look at those resources on the National Association of Realtors website. If you're in Tennessee or Mississippi, look at your Mississippi Association of Realtors, Tennessee Association of Realtors websites, and look at the information that's coming through from your local associations. I can say with honesty and a little bit of disappointment that our Memphis Area Association of Realtors has kind of been behind the 8 ball in sharing information with us regarding these lawsuits. I've been actually following it for years, and they have consistently lagged in sharing information with us. They actually brought some information to our attention a few days ago that I knew a couple of weeks ago. So I want, and even if it's lagging or delayed information, it's still good information for us to have. And it's still good information that we need to be able to use. We are going to have to start talking to people about these lawsuits. I have had the opportunity to have this conversation about these lawsuits, or a conversation about the lawsuits and what it means for buyers and sellers, a total of 8 times already. Um, so I think I'm getting quite familiar with the information, and what some of the changes are going to be. And I've been able to put my buyers at ease as well as my sellers to let them know, hey, everything can be worked out. If you've got faith, everything can be worked out. There are so many ways that we can exercise earning a commission, and having our buyers pay for it. We really just need to have a different mindset. And so I'm going to start by sharing basically what NAR has agreed to in terms of this settlement, in a nutshell. So NAR has agreed to pay out about $400 million, I believe, $418 million over a 4-year period, to settle these claims that have been brought against them and some other companies. And so this settlement would end the litigation of claims brought from other home sellers for similar issues. And the agreement to resolve the issues with this $400 million payout would absolve any claims against NAR, over 1 million NAR members, all of the state and territorial and local realtor associations, all association-owned MLSs, and all brokerages with a NAR member as a principal that had a residential transaction volume in 2022 of $2 billion or below. So that means if you are a principal broker, and what NAR calls a principal broker in their realm is a designated realtor. So if you are a designated realtor and your company, your real estate company, did less than $2 billion in residential transactions over the course of the year 2022, then you are protected by the terms of this settlement. If your company did over $2 billion, then you're not protected. The settlement is still subject to court approval, obviously, but it makes clear that NAR is continuing to deny any wrongdoing in connection with the multiple listing service cooperation compensation rule model that was introduced in the 1990s in response to calls from consumer protection advocates for buyer representation. Under the terms of the agreement, NAR would pay, like I said, $400 million, $418 million to be exact, over approximately 4 years. And they'll be paying that, and some of the people involved in the lawsuit, the American consumers, would be getting that. Two critical things that have happened in this is that NAR is saying that they failed to include all the members in the release and was able to secure, more than 1 million of them, but NAR had about 1.4 million members as of the end of 2023. So there's still a few 100,000 people out there, or companies, organizations, that won't be covered by this settlement. In addition to that, financial payment, NAR has agreed to put in place a new MLS rule that prohibits the offers of broker compensation on the MLS. So basically what this means is we will no longer see buyer agent commissions in the MLS. That doesn't mean that you cannot cooperate. That doesn't mean that the seller can't pay the buyer's commission. It just means that we will no longer see commission rates in the MLS. And so what we're going to have to do is start making those phone calls to agents and negotiating those fees up front. Now, I have spoken to several people in the past few weeks, month, or whatever that says, hey, this is a hard pill to swallow because it's going to affect the ability of a lot of low income families to afford to be able to pay their agent. And while I do know some people are going to be affected adversely by it, I really don't believe that um, there are so many buyers out there who are unwilling to pay their agent or unable. I just feel like we need to think differently in terms of how we work with buyers. And I think we need to get creative in how we help them to pay us. Um, like I said to several people several times, actually, an agent was here in the office this morning or earlier this afternoon, hearing me speak to one of my buyers who, like I've said, several times, he has the money to buy, in a certain price range, just refuses to do that because he wants to be able to continue to live a lifestyle where he has the freedom to go to work and not go to work. He's gotten to the point where he's relaxed in how his lifestyle is set up, and he just doesn't want to have to deal with a bunch of the hustle and bustle to pay a mortgage. He is doing other things though, like buying vehicles, buying off-road vehicles for his kids and taking vacations and things of that nature. So while we do have a segment of buyers out there who are strapped for cash, that is not everybody's situation. And I really want to impress upon our agents, you guys, that everybody is not in that boat. Everybody doesn't fit that bill. And so we really need to think about, how we approach that thought, and how and what we want to believe about our clients. For the first thing I want to say is that I looked at a segment, a news segment. I think it was on NBC a few weeks ago, and it talked about the buying power of African Americans. And according to different studies, the different studies that they presented on this episode of I think it's called MSNBC Money. They said that the buying power for African Americans is $1.6 trillion. Our buying power is increasing, but our assets our worth in terms of asset is decreasing. And that is also the case with younger people, millennials and these Gen Zers. They do have more wealth because they get paid more on their jobs than previous generations and things of that nature. So they actually have more wealth, more dollars, I should say, in their pockets. But they are not spending those dollars on things that build wealth. They are not buying assets. They are buying junk like the tennis shoes and the designer handbags, taking unnecessary, vacations like for spring break and things of that nature. And I know that they really haven't done a lot of that in the last few years because of COVID, but all of those things seem to be coming back and trending. And so I think we should be having a different conversation. Yes, we don't want to discount those people who truly don't have it, but we have a lot of people in our country that are making not the soundest decisions with managing their money. And those people are the ones that we tend to think about and say, oh, they can't afford to pay their agent. I'm just saying that to say I kind of disagree with that whole notion that nobody has money, because, like I said, especially in the case of women, women are actually the strongest home buying segment of people in our country. Single women at that. Single women are buying more properties than anybody else. So the idea that our clients are everybody in our, almost everybody in our purview doesn't have the money to pay you a commission. It's just ludicrous. We just need to rethink that whole thing. And hopefully, there are some other people out there with me that kind of agree, and maybe we can work together to come up with some ways to help our clients internally to be able to meet the obligation to pay their agent should that situation arise. I have some very good, ideas for how we can do that, and we can discuss those at the next meeting. But the other thing that I wanted to briefly touch on here in our call today is about the mortgage rates. Our mortgage rates, as you can see, they've dropped a couple of times in the past couple of weeks. Today, we're looking at mortgage rates that are around 6.85, so below 7%. And that is, the 30-year fixed rate, I believe, is 6.85. Which is 0.125 percentage points lower than it was yesterday. So that means that there's some positive movement in that regard in the market. If you had some people out there that were, on the fence about interest rates, which I always say date the rate, marry the mortgage, date the rate, marry the house, but some people are hung up on interest rates. So if you're unsure about where the interest rates are, what direction they're heading on a national level, you can say, well, interest rates dropped today. They dropped a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. And so we're seeing those things go on to decline. Now, one of the things that I also want to point out is even though home prices are dropping, they're not going to just free fall and plummet. So we don't want to set our clients up for thinking that they're just going to be able to come out here and find a house, where somebody's going to be willing to give it away. I mean, in some cases, that's always true. But in general, in terms of our retail buying market, we are seeing the pricing soften a little bit. But it's not to the point where people are going to just go out here and get a home that's typically valued at 300,000 for 200,000. But the market is softening in terms of pricing. I also want to point out that pricing is a little bit high overall. So a few years ago, that we have neighborhoods where you could purchase a property for say 200,000, and now it's like 275 or something like that. So housing pricing is still inflated, but it is coming down, and we are looking at it hopefully becoming more affordable. The other thing that I want to point out is that this time of year, a bunch of our local lending partners have, they do things to work up, different programs where people can, maybe get help with their financing, get help with the down payment assistance program or something like that. So for those of you who are out there working with buyers that are strapped for cash, just make sure that you stay in contact with your local lending institutions to see, what programs they may be having that can help a home buyer. I also want to point out that sometimes financing may not be an option. Sometimes it's the loan type. Sometimes people are in a price point, and I'm sure we've all felt this. People are in a price point where they don't feel like there is a house that meets their needs. It may be dated, it may need work, it may need some cosmetic things. There are lenders out here that offer home loan programs that allow people to make repairs or to do upgrades or enhancements to properties. So we don't want to forget that. The other thing is, I have seen an uptick in the number of people who may be interested in a foreclosed home. We really don't have a lot of foreclosed homes on the market. We don't have a lot of that happening just yet. I do believe that we probably will see an uptick in that, but it's not going to be anywhere near what we saw in say '08. So if you want to check to make sure that your client, or to see if there are any homes that are available that are foreclosed in our area or in any area, a good place to do that would be to check out the Hood Home Store. You just go to homestore.com. You can search by city, state, zip code, and that'll let you know if we have any foreclosures in our market that come from HUD. The other major thing that happened this week was that the CEO or director of HUD, Miss Marsha Fudge, she stepped down as the leader of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. She basically says that she is, she's at the age of retirement. She wants to go home and spend more time with her mother, who is still alive. Um, and she's actually the HUD secretary. So she plans to go back to her hometown in Northeast Ohio, and just be a private citizen. Her last day working is March 22nd, so that's in less than a week away, and we want to be sure that we stay on the lookout for what the plans are for her replacement, who the replacement is going to be, and what changes we can look for in terms of that. I do know that she had a really huge initiative that she was working on in terms of appraisers, and how that process works. I have a couple of friends that are engaged in that, becoming appraisers. So, hopefully that work will continue, and we'll be able to see the fruits of that, of the work that she did in that area here in the near future. But just so you guys know, we are entering and have officially entered the spring, in my opinion. So this is one of our peak seasons, and I just wanted to put this information out there so that you guys aren't blindsided in July when you no longer see the commissions in our MLS. And I just want you guys to know that we shouldn't look at all of this as a bad thing. Even though the National Association of Realtors has been around for a long time, I really don't think they're going anywhere. It is a wake-up call that some of us got very complacent in some of the things that we were doing. And some of the time it might not have always been right or in the best interest of our clients. Even if that wasn't personally us, there are people in our industry that did that. And so they do need to be held accountable. And I don't think that it's the end for buyers agents. Like I told you guys last week, we have a whole organization, the National Association of Exclusive Buyers Agents, that's been around since the 90s, that have survived all of these things, and have been just helping buyers. They haven't been helping sellers. So that gives me hope that we can do the same thing. And I just don't want people to feel beat up or let down at the National Association of Realtors for what they did. I think they made a smart move by settling the cases, because they were saying before that they didn't even have the resources to cover what those people really wanted in terms of compensation from those lawsuits. So, and I think that those people who weren't protected by the lawsuits can definitely afford to get themselves out of it. So just be on the lookout for those. I would love to get any feedback that you guys may have. This is our third episode, and so I love some feedback on it. If you want me to talk about a specific topic or teach you a specific thing by way of the podcast, please let me know. You can send an email to me at Success Savvy. So that's SUCCESSAVVY, the number 1 at gmail.com. You can send it to Tennille. You could send it, which is our office manager, Tennille at memphisreo.com. You can also reach out and share your thoughts and opinions with your respective broker or another leader in the office.
This is a reminder.
You guys can also talk to any of the other brokers or leaders here in our office. I have a good relationship with every one of them. And so if there's something that you guys want us to, teach about or provide more insight on, we're happy to do that. Don't forget that we're having a new agent boot camp that's coming up here in a couple of weeks. I will be teaching that in the Memphis office. I will be talking to primarily new agents about things that they can do to get their businesses set up properly, where they can get leads, form questions, and things of that nature. And I am also hoping to finish a new sort of class that I have for that I've been developing to help some of our existing agents who feel in a rut to kind of scale their businesses. So, with that being said, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me today. My host, Shanita, got the day off, or my co host, I should say. She got the day off because we were going to have the office meeting, which was canceled. And I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. And until next week, take care of yourselves and your clients. Bye now.